Hey, I'm Devin Finch. I'm a creative director and brand strategist, and I'm here with Chris Fiscella, former member of Hotel Ugly. And we're here to talk about branding and design strategy and his intentions for his next company effort and his passions in life in general. Hi, Chris.
What's going on, man?
Nothing, just knocking out killer intros.
Yeah. No, dope. Yeah, I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to kind of talk about like my ideas and see what you can help me with.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So I guess first things first is a little bit of background that led you to this next passion project / actual career opportunity business thing you're on.
Totally.
Entrepreneurial spirit.
Totally. Before what I'm doing now, I was in a band called Hotel Ugly. I was one of the founders of that band, roughly 3 years ago. Probably about 6 months ago, I realized I want to kind of take a step back and put my passion, my drive, and like the things that inspire me towards a different creative sphere. So I'm looking to start my own vintage clothes resale business. I want to kind of focus on 90s and Y2K fashion. Yeah. Specifically like those 20 years I think would be super dope, because even though I was born in the tail end of the 90s, there's something about the 90s that's super nostalgic. And then obviously, Y2K through 2010, that's when I grew up. So everything there is just super nostalgic for me. I love the way it looks. And I think incorporating those 2 decades of fashion into like contemporary modern fashion and like streetwear is one of the things that I think would be really cool. So that's
okay, cool. So is there a particular notion of like sustainability?
Yes, I think one of the biggest things, especially with vintage and I guess upcycled clothing, recontributing to like the reuse, reduce, recycle cycle, essentially, because you're not contributing to like clothes waste and fast fashion and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I think too, a lot of times, clothing, to be frank, is like very expensive, I guess. I wouldn't necessarily say overpriced, but that balance of you can still get a really cool piece that's unique, one of a kind, and vintage, if you're into vintage, for less than or the same price of something you could get at, PacSun, Forever 21, Urban Outfitters. I think that's really appealing for me, and I think for a lot of other people out there that are specifically my age.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good. I definitely exclusively shop Polo Ralph Lauren. Heads up, very quick. No.
Yeah.
So there's like a skating component that you kind of wanted to tie into, kind of like early 90s Thrasher magazines.
Yeah, definitely.
And so with that like idea of imagery, is this like particularly based on any like skate culture, any tie-in with fashion that you've like already considered?
I didn't necessarily draw any inspiration from fashion, and I've been a musician, almost my whole life. But one of my biggest inspirations in general across all artistic mediums, I guess, would be Blink 182, from, the way they conduct themselves in real life to their merch designs, to their music, everything to me, it screams like 90s SoCal. And one of the biggest things that came out of California was kind of like the boom of that skate culture in the 90s, with things like, Thrasher magazine, like you said. And just that grungy California, SoCal 90s vibe, things that look hand-drawn and look like doodles. I think there's something about it that I just love and I just can't get like enough of. So
do you have a marketing background in any way? Even if it's like more grassroots or like just childish or whatever. I know you were in the band.
Yeah, totally. Whenever any band starts, you don't have any fans, you don't have any sort of management, you don't have any backing of any kind. And you kind of have to figure out that marketing side of things on your own. Back in college, I was a part of some student organizations and doing stuff like sitting on campus with like flyers saying like, hey, come out to this, let me tell you about XYZ. Stuff like that I love, but I have no formal marketing background experience.
Whenever I think of like marketing, P.T. Barnum is like the first thing that comes to mind.
Yeah.
The efforts he did to get people to go into museums, like the business was terrible. But he had somebody walk out and lay a brick like every 5 steps and loop around like a crowd of people and then pick up the brick on a return trip and then walk back into the museum. And he would do that like all day.
Yeah.
So people would be like, what the fuck is this guy doing? What is he doing? And it paid off because people would go, and with the second they were in, they would get like courted to buy tickets.
Yeah.
So an effort like that is like, I don't know, something about that is mind-blowing to me, like how inventive it is. I don't think there would be any formal marketing that would prepare people for that. You seem to have like an interest and drive towards that type of thing. I don't know if it's laying bricks necessarily, but that type of...
God, I remember doing like, trying to think of marketing and promo stuff for the band. We went out and we made like our own picket signs and just stood on the side of the road and, just said, stream our music, and, honk if you like Hotel Ugly.
That's so funny. When I was a kid, I used to go to the mall with my friend and we'd put like, this is so stupid at the sounding, but like, he would wear a blazer and we'd put his phone number on his blazer and walk around just to like get people to call it.
Yeah.
And they do it and they just...
Yeah, she's like,
Would it say nice things on it?
yeah, no,
What was it? The year is this, like 2003, 2002?